do we have some examples? Do you have some examples of what's working in that
Mm-hmm.
regard that we
Mm-hmm.
could look to? When we build the
Mm-hmm.
body of work at
Yeah.
Build, to be redundant, uh,
Yeah. It's a
um,
good name.
when we build this body of work,
Yeah.
one of the things we want to do is highlight what works
Yeah.
and to be able to share among
Yeah.
other states and other jurisdictions,
Yeah.
what's working so they can
Right.
pick it up and replicate.
Right. Right. Right.
So, what do we
Yes.
have that works?
Okay, so I want to pick up on what you suggested about what we know from the COVID lockdown period,
Yes, yes.
because that's very, very telling. So during the COVID lockdown in many cities, but I'm most familiar with New York City, basically the family policing system shut down. Caseworkers investigated far less cases, only the most extreme. Judges were not ordering separations of families to the far less than they typically do. And there was this alarm that because more families weren't being investigated and children were at home, there was going to be this steep rise in child abuse. It turns out that no, that did not happen at all.
Hmm.
In fact, even the head of the Administration for Children's Services in New York admitted there was no increase in child abuse. And some people said it was actually a decrease. But let's just stick with no increase. It
Yeah.
did not increase at all. And what is the reason why? There's a professor at NYU, Anna Ahrens, who wrote a piece suggesting, I think actually very compellingly, showing that the reason was those income supports for families that happened at the same time. But also importantly, in New York City, there's a network of mutual aid organizations. These are grassroots organizations that provide free, concrete resources to families, groceries, diapers, even some mental health care, child care, these kinds of things. And they came out uh, just in force providing resources for communities, more than $100,000 of at least of resources distributed in impoverished neighborhoods in New York City. And so those two things combined, which give us some idea of what can work, both income supports from the government, but also grassroots community-based organizations, mutual aid organizations. Uh, that is what works to reduce the need,
Need.
the perceived need
Yes, yes.
of child investigations and family separation. And that is much better for families. So how can we support families? So that's a concrete example, and those mutual aid networks,
Yes.
grassroots organizations that provide for families. That's what we need to invest money in. That's what we need to support. That's what we need to promote as where people can go for help, and those mandated reporters, also can send families for help if they can't provide it themselves.
Yes, yes.